Welcome back to Books, Tea and Biscuits with me, Jo.
And me, Kim.
This is July's. I know we did June's late the other week.
Yes.
Because situations we told you about. The review this week is I chose 2 books from the secret stash that Kim brings in with the bag, and we're not allowed to look, and it's very complicated. We do it under a carrier bag and we're not looking, and we just take it and hide it, and then we have a look and see what we're going to read. And I got 3 books, but the one I'd actually not just read but I'd done a review on, which was this one, Darker Shades of Magic. Now, at first I thought, have I read this? I don't remember. And then I read the first line of the first chapter and said, yes, I have read this.
Yeah. So that one's discounted.
So that's discounted. I've only read 1 book, and I've not totally finished that, but it doesn't matter because I don't tell people the end. And the other book that I haven't read is this one. It's called The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. It looks like it's a series, however, it has a warning, as it were. It's quite a violent book because you are warned about it.
Trigger warnings at the front.
And I thought, I can't read this. Sorry, I can't read it, folks, because of the nature of it. So I thought, I'm not even going to give it a go.
Which is fine, understandable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll take that one out of the equation then as well.
So I read this one, almost finished it, The Girl Before. Now, there are no trigger warnings in this, and I wish there had been. It seems like a good book, which I'll tell you about once you've said what your reviews are.
Okay, so I'd already had this one, as I wanted to read this one. I had it for June, I didn't manage to read it, so I said it would be my July book, pick, but I still haven't managed to read it. So I'm going to keep it until I've managed to read it, because I really want to read it, because it's a Doctor Who book, written by Alex Kingston, who plays River Song. So I'm going to keep this again, and this is going to be the first book I'll pick up. I won't pick any other book up until I've done this, and that's because I had a library book to read and it needed to go back, and I didn't want it to be a wasted journey. So I'll discuss my library book in this one instead of this book, and then I've read one of my others, which is A History of British Serial Killing by David Wilson, which I flew through this anyway. And then this was my 3rd pick, but I haven't yet read it, and this is a new one that Joe and I chose from the works, and it's called The Star and the Strange Moon by Constance Sayers. I believe this is a series as well. It's one of 2 or 3, and yeah, I haven't read it yet, but it is looking like it would be good from what I've read from the blurb. So I do want to read that one too. So out of my 3, I've read 1 plus a library book. But there's, reasons why. We did only have a couple of weeks to read these anyway. So we haven't had the full month because we was late with the June one. So we picked for July, and then we was late with the July one. So we picked, and now, we've only had a couple of weeks. So with everything else I need to do, and my job's really hard at the minute as well, and I've got so much to do. So I'm taking things home and doing it there. So I'm not having time to read. And then we're currently looking at having the garden re-landscaped and the bathroom redone. So yeah, it shouldn't be an excuse, but it is. Life happens, doesn't it? So I'm still reading though. I'm not in a slump or anything. I just didn't have time to pick up what I wanted to pick up, and I thought I could fly through this one. So I did pick up this one, and this one's interesting anyway. So yeah, that's what I've read. Oh, the other book from the library, I'll put a cover here. Obviously I haven't got the book anymore. It's called Black Summer by M.W. Craven, and it's book 2 in the Washington Post series, which contains 7 books. So that's book 2 of 7. I'll put a cover here, and then when I discuss that book, I'll leave the cover on the screen until I've finished.
Right. I've just got... Okay. The way this book's written, first of all, the different chapters relate to 2 different women. Until, The first one, it starts off, then Emma. That's chapter 1. The next chapter is now Jane, and that's how it is throughout. Then Emma, now Jane, then Emma, now Jane. And it's about a property, one four-gate house or something like that, four-gate something. And Emma and her chap are looking for somewhere to rent together. And they've been together a while, and now they want to live together. And it's very, very strange. It's very
minimalist.
That as well, yeah. it's very little, and there's lots of rules. Even though you're going to be renting it and living there are rules, and if you break one of these rules, and they're very weird rules,
they are, aren't they?
You can be evicted. You have to answer a set of questions. Now, the first question you're asked is, let's put your glasses on.
Your glasses. You won't see without them.
No, I can't, because of me cataracts. One of the first questions they're asked is, please make a list of every possession you consider essential to your life. There are quite a lot of questions.
How absurd is that?
It is. And when instead of saying part 1, part 2,
It's a question.
it's a question.
Yeah.
And in part 2, the second question is, when I'm working on something, I can't relax until it's perfect. Agree or disagree? So there's lots of weird questions like that. And Emma and her fella are looking at the questions, and it's one of 2. Well, there's 3 sections. First of all, you view the property, and you're told all the rules and regulations. Secondly, you're given the form to fill in, and you have to answer these questions. And the third bit is, if the architect who owns the property likes what you've answered, he will arrange to meet you face to face. Edward, his name is. And Emma and her chap meet Edward, a very unusual gentleman. The rules and regulations that you have to abide by. You can't leave anything on the floor. Nothing on the floor. Everything's got to be put away. It can't be any mess. You can't have pictures on the wall. You can't have anything really personal. Where if you go somewhere, you normally put photos up or pictures on your wall. You're not allowed any of that in this property. Then you get Jane. Now these 2 people are approximately 3 years separating from each other. So they're on a parallel. So you're getting one story, then the other, then the next story, then the other. And it turns out that Emma has died. The reason that they're moving is Emma was assaulted in the home she was living at with her chap. His home it was initially, and she was attacked and assaulted, and they were robbed and everything, and she's very traumatised. So they decided to get to have this other place. They tried other places, and they were either rubbish or too expensive, and this was sort of just right, because you're almost caretaking. There are secret doors here and there that you don't know they're there. They have to abide, and they have to answer questions. Every so often they're nudged by an automatic system, and they have to answer these questions. It's all part and parcel. It's very strange, and he's a very strange man. He's an award-winning architect. And because they find out, she never told anybody when they reported the theft of the property, in their previous property, she never told the police or her boyfriend that she'd actually been sexually abused. She'd been raped. She never told them because she was so ashamed. And they find out. So they have her down at the police station again, and mainly the reason they find out is because it was filmed. It was videoed, and the video's out there. And of course this causes problems then. And she has this big row, ends up having a row with her boyfriend, and she decides, that's it, we're going to split up, you've got to go because her name is on the lease. His is on there as well, but she speaks to the owner and asks what the legalities are, and that's sorted. He still loves her, but he just found it hard to deal with things. The parallel, 3 years later, you've got Jane. Now Jane lost a baby. It was a stillborn, but she was made to deliver it normally. And it turns out that the hospital were actually negligent. She'd had some problems. She went to the hospital and they disregarded everything. Now, had they done proper scans and everything, they'd have found out that her uterus was splitting and the baby was born dead. And she answers his questions like he wants them, so she gets the property. And it's quite weird because as the story goes on, she finds out because Emma's boyfriend keeps turning up and laying flowers outside the door, but she doesn't know it's him. She doesn't know of him. She just opens the door to go to work, and there's always these beautiful flowers, sunflowers, I believe. And she's freaking out because she thinks it's the architect. She doesn't know why she thinks that, but she does. Anyway, she gets to see who it is, and he says, I have to keep laying them because you keep taking them. And they get talking, and he explains to her that Emma died, and he believes that the architect murdered her because what he ended up doing was separating her from her friends and her family and him, and they ended up having a relationship. Well, Jane's in that situation where she's having a relationship with the architect, with Edward. So she starts looking into things. She goes upstairs into the attic and finds that for a while Emma was living in the attic. And when you think of how beautiful the house was and everything, why was she living in the attic? She was hiding. Why was she hiding? And she finds a card which related to Emma's therapist, because obviously after the attack she needed a therapist. So she went. Jane then went to see the therapist and said that she'd had a loss, she'd lost her baby, and she needed someone to talk to. And really what she wanted to do was find out about Emma. So she finds out a few things and she starts diving. He did tell her one time that his wife and child had died in a terrible car accident, and he initially built the house for them as a home, but of course when his wife died, that was it. He couldn't live there anymore. It didn't seem right. And she delves into it and she finds out that his wife and Emma and her all look alike. So it's very much a psychological thriller, and it does seem, as you're reading it, you get the impression that he's obviously somebody who's abusive, but psychologically abusive. He's a narcissist.
And he's controlled, isn't he?
And he's controlling. So she ends up thinking at first that he did murder Emma. So she's quite worried now. Because he's moved in with her. All of a sudden he's moved in, he's taken control, he's reminding her, you need to do this. She started doing things that he started doing. She's influenced by him, and she'll take her shoes off before she goes into the hallway, and she puts all her spices and that in alphabetical order. It's definitely becoming
psychologically.
And you do find out how Emma died. Did she commit suicide? Did he murder her? I know the answer. But I'm not saying.
No.
It is a good book. The things that really affected me in it is, and it does show you his personality. He's taken Emma, and he says the same things to Jane, word for word, the way he said them to Emma. He takes Emma to a museum. Now, Emma isn't sort of that way inclined. She finds museums quite boring, whereas Jane's not like that. She finds them really interesting. But he will only look at one thing a day, you know, or whatever. If they go to the museum, you're only allowed to look at one particular thing. You can't look all around the museum. You go there for a specific reason, and it's normally out of hours.
Mm-hmm.
He arranges with the person out of hours so that they can look at this one particular gorgeous thing and just, you know, go mad over that. And she goes to, they've both been to this restaurant. It's a Japanese restaurant, and the first course, I can't pronounce it because I don't speak, well, I only speak a few words Japanese, and this isn't included. But what it is it's obviously baby fish, so from a certain specific. It's not roe. It's not caviar. It's a specific little fish that's still alive when you eat it.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And I think he calls them young'uns or something like that. Calls them that. And of course Jane, when she's in the restaurant and it's describing it, she lost her baby. And she suddenly realises that she's eating babies. And she can still feel them, and she's suddenly, I can't eat that, I can't eat that. The next course is a fish that the one side slices have been, but it's still alive, and you get your they get the chopsticks and they take out the slices that have been sliced, so the fish is still alive when they cut into it. And little things like that, you get an idea of, and I found that really, really difficult.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
You know, to think, oh my God, you know, he's taking these people there and they're eating live creatures. You know, it's bad enough I'm a vegetarian anyway, we both are.
Yeah.
So to read about that would have been horrible anyway, even if I hadn't have been. So little things like that, you think, this guy is weird in a big way, because that's the sort of stuff he orders. And if he cooks the meal, he will cook the meal, he won't let her cook the meal. And, you know, it's very, very, very psychological.
Mm-hmm.
But I did find some stuff I found in there very difficult, and I really didn't like it at all. And yes, I know to a certain extent it was needed because it gives you his character, but it also, in some ways, you're focusing on that you don't really focus on what's behind it.
Yeah.
So I've given it a 4, and then I own, the 4 could actually be altered to a 3.5, but it's a 4 at the minute. I don't think I would read it again. It's very well written, don't get me wrong. It's
and the
well
psychological aspect is good.
Oh God, yeah, very good. You're reading it, and again, it's one of these books where when you read it, you can always tell a really, really good book if you can imagine voices.
Yeah.
When you're reading
and picture the characters,
the conversations, you can hear, and it's just brilliant writer, P Delaney, brilliant. I can't fault that. It's just some of the stuff in there I found difficult to cope with. But yes, I'll just read you the blurb on the back. Enter the world of 1 Folgate Street and discover perfection, but can you pay the price? Jane stumbles on the rental opportunity of a lifetime, the chance to live in an ultra-minimalist house designed by an enigmatic architect on condition she abides by a list of exacting rules. But when she discovers a previous tenant, Emma, met a mysterious death there, Jane starts to wonder if her own story will be a rerun of The Girl Before. So yeah, really, really good. It is good, but as I say, I found some parts of it quite difficult to read.
I expect anybody would,
Yeah, definitely. But it is good, as I say. I give it 4, but mainly because I didn't like the restaurant bit.
Okay, so let's talk about this one first, because I've got the physical book with me. This is A History of British Serial Killing by David Wilson. Now, if nobody knows, David Wilson is Emeritus Professor of Criminology at Birmingham University. And I wish I would have studied criminology, to be fair, because being from Birmingham, I would have gone to that uni. But I had a friend who was her lecturer, and she said it was really, really interesting to listen to. And we know that because we've been to some of his talks before.
Yeah,
and I'm looking
talks, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm looking at potentially going to another one in September.
He's supposedly retired.
Yeah, that's what emeritus means, yeah, retired professor.
Yeah.
But he's still allowed.
No, I mean retired from doing these talks, or has he decided to do them again?
No, he's doing them again, but
he's doing them again
in the £60. So.
Because I remember he said he was going to be retiring from doing these talks.
Yeah, well, there's a
He's
meet and
changed his
greet.
mind.
There's a meet and greet with him as well.
Oh, right.
So I'm looking at that. So when I had this in my selection, I was like, yeah, I'm going to read it. Now, this isn't the original substandard book as you get, you know, where it's just mentioning about Jack the Ripper, about Harold Shipman, about Ian Brady, who's one of the Moors murderers. This is about how a more detailed, comprehensive look at how the murderers select their victims, what we need to do as public to ensure that these murders don't escalate, that, you know, perpetrators don't find other ways to select, abduct, kidnap, murder, sexually assault their victims. So yeah, he discusses 31 prolific UK murderers, and you know how they selected their victims, how they killed, things like that. So I'm just going to quickly read the blurb to you, so I can not take a deep dive, because I won't be doing a deep dive, because again I don't want to discuss too much of David Wilson's legacy. I say legacy like he's not died. Works, because I think this is something that you need to be able to read yourself to know my thoughts and Joe's thoughts on the guy himself, because not only does he do work like this, like there's a list of his books within here, and obviously we've gone to talks and which were at Birmingham Uni and things like that, but he is sometimes in TV shows. I know the one that I love that he was in was Murder Case Book, which is hosted by Fred Dinage. Now, David Wilson had a part in that as well, and most of the murderers in here are mentioned within that TV show. So, I'm just going to read this to you so you can understand what it's like. So, how do serial killers choose their victims, and how can they be stopped? Reinvestigating 31 of Britain's most infamous serial killers, Professor, at the time he was still a professor, not emeritus professor, because this is from 2009, I believe. Professor David Wilson discovers the reasons they were able to kill again and again. From the savage slaughterhouse-style murders of Jack the Ripper to the chilling exterminations carried out by Harold Shipman, Professor Wilson reveals fascinating and terrifying insights into the bloody history of Britain's most brutal murderers. As one of the UK's foremost criminologists, David Wilson is able to show how serial killers select their victims from the most vulnerable sections of our community, and he warns that unless we learn from these terrible stories, the killings will continue and could even escalate. Based on years of study by the UK's leading expert, this is the most comprehensive and compelling account of Britain's serial killers to date. So, as mentioned, he does discuss 31 murderers, you know, some you've heard of, some you might not have, but it's not like this is Ian Brady, this is what he did, this is Harold Shipman, this is what he did. It's not that kind of book. It's just more to do with, if I say behind the scenes kind of thing, that's like how they investigated the murders, what they looked at, what modus operandi the murderer has, how they get people like David Wilson, who was at the time governor from, you know, various prisons throughout the UK, and how he became a criminologist, how they get people like him to work on the cases. That's what this book is about. It's not just saying, you know, Jack the Ripper had 12 victims, 13 victims. He went mainly for prostitutes in Mitre Square, X, Y and Z. It's not that kind of information. So if I just quickly show you. So this is a contents page, and you have your introduction as normal, your epilogue, whatever. But then Chapter 1, Society's Biggest Plague. Chapter 2, Hacks Beyond Recognition, Jack the Ripper. So that's how he carried out his murders, who he carried it out on, and you get, I mean, it's a lot of information, but there are pictures as well. So Society's Biggest Plague, this is, this one is to do with Jack the Ripper, but how it was a plague on society at the time. They've never caught Jack the Ripper, they don't know who Jack the Ripper is, but how it became so notorious and so, you know, I don't want to use the word fascination, but people have such a fascination with Jack the Ripper that the amount of tourism that provides to the UK, even my thoughts are, even if they knew who Jack the Ripper was, it wouldn't ever be disclosed, because the amount of money that that generates, do you know what I mean? The amount of people that come to London to do the tours, to do the walks, to do the route that, you know, the bodies were found on. This is where victim 1, victim 2, and I believe there was 2 victims that was caught in, 2 victims that were found in one night, and there are theories out there that he couldn't have done both. He was working with an accomplice, because you can't get from point A to point B within the time that the victims were found. So he discloses information like that. So, for instance, just as a first sentence, serial killing is neither a new phenomenon nor one that is peculiar to the Western world. We have stories from Britain's distant past of serial killers such as Sawney Bean, a notorious Scottish cannibal who was said to have preyed on travellers along the coast of Galloway. And then you've got things like the Old Lady Killer, Juana Barraza. Now, David Wilson doesn't usually ever work with female serial killers because he was a governor of male prisons, and he's most notorious for working with male murderers, male sex offenders, male prisoners. He only ever discusses information around male murderers, and he has stated that the police can only uncover murderers when there's like proof, victim statements, because don't forget, when Jack the Ripper was committing his murders, we didn't have the DNA database that we do now, so he discusses what they did to try and work out who Jack the Ripper was, because there was talks of the Polish guy Aaron Kamiński, who had a series of mental health issues, and he was in and out of a, you know, psychiatric unit, and the murders would only happen when he was released. They wouldn't happen when he was within that psychiatric unit. So there was speculation on him, then there was speculation on Charles Dickens, then there was speculation on Prince Albert, and how, you know,
and Maybrick.
Yeah, and how they carried out those investigations, and, you know, what evidence they have or didn't have to convict them, so that why they were released and things like that. It's just so entertaining, because it sounds to me, as someone who is, I wouldn't say fascinated, but wants justice in the world and wants people, you know, to be punished for their crimes, when you read books like this or watch the TV shows, because, you know, it generates a lot of interest, the reason for that isn't because, my understanding anyway, this could be completely different, and please mention down below if you feel the same. My understanding and why I watch and have an interest in things like that is so how I can keep myself safe, what to look out for. Is it the quiet person? You know, the person you wouldn't suspect. Is it the loudest person in the room? Is it male? Is it female? Do I need to be worried? That's why. So I know the other day at home we was watching The Granny Killer, I think, and we was watching a documentary on an American serial killer, and she was female, and she was called Dorothea Puente, and she would take in lodgers, kill them, steal their gyro checks, and then just keep doing it and keep doing it. And she was in her 70s, and she did all that herself. She didn't have any accomplices, and these were young men. She'd drug them, she'd stab them, bodies and bones would be found in her garden. She didn't have any accomplice, and that to me is like, wow, I wouldn't have, would I have fallen prey to that back in those days if I was in that situation? But a lot of her killings were male. And the saying is, if a woman is killed, there's a 90% chance she knows the person. It's either a husband or family member or brother or whoever. If a man is killed, it's usually their friend, or in 5% cases, the girlfriend or the wife. A lot of the time, 90% cases, it is the husband, the boyfriend, the brother, the dad has killed the woman, either because he's been cheating and doesn't want the marriage anymore, he's found out she's cheated, whether it's an honour killing due to religious purposes. It dives into things like that. But for instance, there's a section here called Serial Killers Defined, and I'll just quickly read a few sentences to you just so you can understand what I mean. It's not just saying this is Jack the Ripper, this is Ian Brady, this is Harold Shipman, this is H.H. Holmes. So let me just read a few sentences to you. So serial killers defined. Most criminologists would suggest that a murderer should have killed 3 or more victims over a period of greater than 30 days to be labelled as a serial killer. That's true. I've known that since I was a young kid. Since I was I did 2 modules of a criminology course in school when somebody came in for one of my English literature modules, but then I didn't take it any further because I didn't think I could do it. So I know that a serial killer, a mass murderer, and then premeditated murder and unlawful murder all fall under the same umbrella, but they all have different meanings. So that's what, if it's a mass murder, they've killed a lot of people over a short span. If it's a serial killer, it's a lot of people over a longer period of time of greater than 30 days. This allows us to differentiate serial killers from spree murders and mass murders, such as Michael Ryan at Hungerford in August 1987, who shot and killed 16 people, and Thomas Hamilton at Dunblane, who shot and killed 16 children and their school teacher in March 1996. So it just explains certain aspects of, things that people get wrong. Where, for instance, I was watching the Babes in the Wood documentary only this morning when Russell Bishop, I think, was the murderer of the 2 schoolgirls and tried to kidnap Margaret Wilson, and then when he was released because he convinced the jury that he didn't do it, he was then out with the search party even though he knew where they were, and trying to convince people that he didn't do it, and then placed all suspicion on one of the missing girls' fathers. And then people have that kind of herd mentality, and they were accosting him, they were writing in spray paint across his house, across his car, across his door, own up, you need to do this. But he didn't do it. It was Russell Bishop. He was finally acquitted of the murder when the 3rd victim, Margaret, he thought he'd killed her, left her in a field. She actually came to and was that dizzy from the strangulation that she couldn't walk, so she managed to climb out of the bushes and hail down a couple, and then they helped her with the blanket because she was not in a good state. Things like that, like how as a public do we get away with accusing people based on no evidence at all? Is it because of the herd mentality? Is it because of peer pressure? Is it because we feel like if you think this, I've got to think this as well? That's what's explained in this book. I really like it because it gives a greater detail. I know it's hard to read because, again, we don't like, I want justice in the world, but gives more detail into how and why and how we can be safe, and how as a public, as it's mentioned here, warns that unless we learn from these terrible stories, the killings will continue and could even escalate. What we could do, what the police could do, what the criminal justice system could do, what the Crown Prosecution Service could do, and how it falls. It's greater than just the police. It's the forensics. It's the barristers. It's the lawyers. It's the chief of the police. It's the public as well. It's the journalists. They have a bigger, because what's reported in the media is usually twisted. It isn't always true. They have. I keep going to say clickbait titles, but titles that engross you. And I'm sure in 1980s or 1970s, when the Babes in the Woods murders happened, how it came to be that the dad was also accused and investigated for it as well. And there was newspaper articles written. And also the murderer, Russell Bishop, was given £15,000 for him to do a story in the newspaper. How do we allow that to happen? That's what is explained in this book. How we get into that kind of mindset. So I always give David Wilson works 5 out of 5 anyway, but this one, it just hits home in regards to, it makes you feel a certain way, not, you have empathy for the victims, obviously, and how you detest these people, the murderers, more than what you think you could, but not understand, but realise a lot of these people have had issues in the past. Now, you can't always blame childhood, because a lot of people have had bad childhoods, but how, let's take John Wayne Gacy, for instance, a US serial killer who dressed as a clown, Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown. The good clown was Pogo the Clown, the bad clown apparently was Patches the Clown. How he even met one of the first ladies, I can't remember who it was, but he met the president's wife. He was working for the church, I believe. He was only found after he killed over 30 people. And even then, there are still people alive today that believe John Wayne Gacy didn't do it, because, no, he wouldn't have done that. I knew him, he was my neighbour. That's what people think, because they don't know what to look for. So yeah, this gives a more detailed aspect of what ticks them off. Does that make sense? So I like that. A different read from what I usually like to read, but I picked it out, so I needed to read it, and I thought, with it being David Wilson and me looking into a recent talk that I'll be potentially going to in Birmingham soon, or there's one in Nottingham or Leicester, de Montfort Hall as well, because you can go there with questions. When you have a meet and greet, you can ask them questions about things. So yeah, I hate murderers, empathy for the victims, what can I do to help? I want to study criminology. I can't now, I'm a little bit too old, but if I could go back 20 years, I would do. A lot of pictures in here, I forgot to show you. So some of them you might know, some of them you might not. Everyone knows this picture here, Heather West. One of Fred West's victims.
Mm-hmm. Is Julie Bell in there? Was it Julie Bell?
Mary Bell, the
Mary
10-year-old
Bell.
serial
Yeah,
killer
Mary
from
Bell.
Wales.
Mary Bell, yeah. Is she in there?
I didn't see her photo in here. This is mainly about victims, and it mentions about, the victims that they think they know about but haven't yet found. So Keith Bennett being the most prolific one at the moment, his body's never been found, and
They think they might have an idea where it is.
Yeah, something's come up recently, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really difficult to watch. Like Annette Nichols, who was the eldest of Wright's victims. Annette was a qualified beauty therapist and mother of a young boy. Despite the fact that Gemma Adams' body had just been found, Nettie's heroin addiction meant that she continued to work at Ipswich's red light district. Paula Clennell. So this was the Suffolk Strangler, wasn't it? Yeah. So it's how they look at the CCTV, how they look at I mean, back in these days, this can go back to Jack the Ripper's days, Peter Sutcliffe days, Harold Shipman days, when the things we have today wasn't about them, but how they still caught the murderers. So yeah, I wished it was a bit bigger, because you know it whittles down 31, mentioned about 31 murderers into a 290, sorry, keep going to say 299, but that's the index, so that's not counted, 282 page, but it does give you, 282 page book, but then page 282, if you want to have any further reading, you can. It just mentions further reading on other books he's done, into his academic work, so a Journal of Forensic Psychiatry and Psychology, in particular, K. Southall and D. Wilson, 2005. So yeah, it's really good, really insightful, I think, as well, and definitely a good read if you want this to be your career, profession. So yeah, I really love that one.
Good.
So I've got a second book to review. This one will be a quick review because it's a library book, it's not one I had to read for the pick. But I'll show Joe the cover. So that's what I read, Black Summer by M.W. Craven. I can never say my R's properly. And this is book 2 in the Washington Post series. So before that, before today, I reviewed The Puppet Show, which is about the Immolation Man. This one is about something completely different. So let me just turn my phone screen off because that's distracting. So this is about Washington Poe, the Cumbrian detective for the National Crime Agency, and he gets informed that one of the cases where he put a murderer away in prison 10 years ago, well, the person that they thought he'd killed has walked into a police station.
Okay.
Even though they took blood from the scene, they took DNA from the scene, and she's, it was her blood, but she's just walked into a police station.
Okay, but what made them think that the person was dead in the first place?
Because I can't remember why. So his daughter, so the person that's been accused of the murder and put in prison, Jared Keating, he's a chef that works for Balstus and Slow or something like that, in Cumbria. His wife died in a car accident. His daughter has gone missing, can't be found, no social media presence. In pictures of her on social media before her disappearance, the pictures are weird. So it's a hot summer's day, she's on holiday with her friends, but she's covered head to toe. Instead of a bikini picture like all her friends are, she's got a jumper on.
So she's hiding something.
So she's hiding something. We get that. At the time, the dad didn't know about those pictures, so he doesn't know that she's hiding something. But she walked into a police station, but is it really her?
Right.
I know the answer to that because I read the book and finished the book. So they do all the blood tests. They do analysis of the bruises around her neck, X, Y, and Z. Where's she come from? Why is she in this state now when her dad's been in prison for 10 years?
Did they do DNA tests of her as well?
Yeah.
So they would know then whether it was her or not?
Well, they did. The female forensics person did, but the girl refused to have a drink, refused to eat anything, refused to...
Well, she doesn't need to drink or eat anything, does she?
No, but she didn't have that DNA test with the cotton bud in it swabbing.
No, but they can take
hair, well,
and they could get a warrant. If she was being awkward and they got to make sure it was her, they could have got a warrant.
They did blood tests and it was the victim, but it wasn't the victim. So as she walked into the police station, the forensics analysis person, the female woman, Flick I think she's called, Felicity, which is a real name, did the blood test, withdrew the blood, and it came back as the victim. But the victim's dead.
Right.
but it's come back as Janet Keating.
Okay.
So Washington Poe gets a call to say, you know, you've messed up, this person's going to be released from prison, you need to investigate where you could have gone wrong. But he's adamant, he's sure that he knows that Jared Keating killed his daughter.
Right.
So what he has to do, because he's getting a lot of slack, obviously, not only in the press, but with his peers as well, in the police force. People don't believe him, people don't want to work with him because they think he's losing his mind, he's getting facts wrong. So the only people that work with him are Tilly, who works with him in the puppet show, the female analyst, and his boss, I can't remember her name, I'll put it here. She's got such a normal name, but I can't remember it. But then he gets a lot of slack from Gamble, who was head of Cumbria Police for the Immolation Man killings, but he's now been demoted as such, so that this new police force, who hate Poe, can take over, and you know, they just believe that Poe was wrong all those years ago. So Poe has to reinvestigate. Now, it is hard for him to do this investigation because he's got hardly anything to work with. He's looking at the interview from the time that she walked into the police station, where she'd been. She said she was held captive, given no food for ages, given, you know, she was tortured, she was this, she was that. But he said something's not right, and I can't put my finger on what it is, but something's not right. And he keeps watching it, and people watch it and they're getting bored. Other police officers are getting bored. And then later on down the line, he only has a certain amount of time to complete this investigation because the dad's getting released again from prison. He's getting released, so he wants all this to be sorted out. But then Washington Poe gets arrested for the killing.
Okay.
Because they find blood. So Poe lives on an old house in Cumbria, in someone's farm. He got suspended in the last book, the puppet show. He got suspended from Cumbria Police. Had no money. Didn't want to move out of the country though, or anything. He wanted to still be close to his wife, and he brought an old shepherd's hut on the farmland, done it out, because the owner of the building said that, you know, the council were charging him too much council tax. He owned the building, nobody lived there, so sold it to Poe. That's where Poe lives. He's got hundreds and hundreds of acres of land, but it's owned by this one farmer, but now he owns it. So he had kind of like a trailer of sorts, wheelbarrow type thing, but it's really big. They found blood in there. They found that there was inconsistencies with Poe's, not alibi, but where he'd been, what he'd done. Because this was a secret investigation, he didn't tell everybody, and Poe wasn't one to follow the rules anyway. So when they gave him like a BlackBerry, obviously that had a tracker on, he'd turn that off, or he'd turn his phone off and go and interview people that knew Jared Keating or knew the daughter from years ago that he was told not to interview. You're going to get in trouble. You need to leave us to handle certain aspects of the case. So it comes out that the girl that's walked into the police station, she had her blood drawn. It says that she's the victim that's dead, but how can it be her when she's dead? Her body's been cut up into 48 pieces and placed into the sous vide bag. But how was placed into sous vide bags? But how's that happened if she's walked into a police station? How is her blood in that girl's body?
Twins.
No.
Okay.
So Poe has to get to that. So he's watching the interview with the police officer. You know, I've walked in. I'm Elizabeth Keating, I think her name is. I'm Elizabeth Keating. Blood drawn. Yes, I'm Elizabeth Keating. But he said her mannerism is wrong. Her, you know, she said she hadn't eaten in 6 months, but within parts of the blood that's been drawn, there is Elizabeth Keating's blood.
So she drank it?
No, because then it would have been mixed with her blood.
Or they injected it?
they found that there were traces of black truffle, which is a really expensive ingredient that is only used by certain restaurants. But how did that get into her system if she's saying she was locked up, kidnapped, kept in this dingy room without food and water and that, and given bread and water and God knows what? How did black truffle get into the system? So he has to find out that. He has to find out what Elizabeth was hiding in those photos, and it's not until he goes to speak to somebody that used to work in Bullis and Slough with head chef Jared Keating at the time when Elizabeth went missing that he realises what it is and what she's hiding. And he tries to play Jared Keating at his own game, and Jared Keating thinks he's a smart guy. He places the blood, or gets someone to place the blood in to the wheelbarrow or post trailer outside his home. They say, but it's wet, it looks like it's been cleaned. He goes, it hasn't stopped raining here for 3 days, of course it's wet. You know, and he lives in that part of the UK, up north on the northwest coast in Cumbria, where it does rain quite a lot. You know, they were just pulling at straws as to, you know, we need to get somebody for this. Poe's got it wrong, but he hasn't got it wrong, and he knows he hasn't got it wrong, but he needs to convince him that he hasn't got it wrong, but nobody will listen to him. So he investigates and he investigates, and he finds out where the body of Elizabeth is, because that's the only thing. They've convicted the guy. Poe knows that he's done it. The evidence at the time told Poe that he'd done it, but they never found her body. They've now since found the body after he's done the investigation, but the dad doesn't know that. He's been released from prison, but they don't know that they found his secret hideout as to where they're kept. And the reason that they find out is because he needs to get down to why the black truffle is in the stomach, or the blood molecules of this girl that's walked into the police station. So what he does, he speaks to the boyfriend, you know, says, did anybody try and get you to buy black truffle back in the day? I can't remember the date. Not me, but I know of somebody that was selling them, and they tried to sell them to Jared Keating, or tried to sell them to this person. And it came to light that the person who was selling the truffle wasn't like farming them, didn't grow them, but he stumbled across them because it was part of what's it called? It's like a branch of the army that has the secret bunkers, and there was 13 of them across the UK, but only the location of 12 of them was known. They've tried to keep the 13th one hidden, but the only person that knew where it was is also dead. But Jared Keating finds out the location from the guy that's selling the black truffle, because he finds the black truffle by this bunker, knows where this bunker is, because he's meant to keep watch over this bunker. He's part of that society that keeps the bunkers not alive, but what's the word? In use. That's it. And he kills this person because an alarm bell's gone off in his head. I could use his secret location to keep the bodies of my murder victims. So I'm not going to say how Poe finds that out or what happens at the end, but Poe's not wrong. The dad killed the daughter, killed the wife as well. Remember I said she died in a car crash. Killed the wife as well. Killed the person that was selling the black truffle who stumbled across this bunker. And then you also find out which of the police force, which of the forensics is also in on it.
They'd have to be.
Yeah. And when I finish this video, I'll tell Joe how it was done, how the blood got into the girl's body, and who did that, and how that happened.
Forensics.
But it was really good. I'm starting to love M.W. Craven. This is the second book of his that I've fallen in love with. Like, it's a page turner. The love I have for this is different for the love I have for this, which I'll put the cover here. Because, yes, again, it's another hard read. It's about torture, it's about kidnap, but that's only in the book for a small percentage. The main body of the book is Washington Poe doing his investigation, doing it not by the rules, not by the book, because if he did it by the book, he wouldn't have caught the murderer. But again, it's, you know, depends. It doesn't have trigger warnings in the book. I think it should do for certain things, because it doesn't mention any kind of sexual abuse or anything like that, but it does mention torture, kidnap, murder. Again, it's a psychological thriller, it will do. But also, you know, bullying as well. I know that can be a trigger for some people, and things like that. But I always deep dive into psychological thrillers and true crime and things like that, because it's so different from my life that, you know, I like it. But this is interesting, but because I can learn from this, not only how to stay safe, but from, you know, what not to do to attract people to, you know, do that. But the psychological thrillers to me is just so far-fetched. I don't believe that anything like that would happen. Does that make sense? That's why I like it, because I'm like, oh, it's just a story. And I give NW Craven 5 out of 5 stars. That's 2 reads for me today that have been 5 out of 5 stars for very different reasons, as I've mentioned, but they're so fascinating that I think I could sit down and read another one of these today, and I can't wait to go to the library and get the 3rd book out. Again, I'm still going to have my picks, but I think I'm only going to read the 2 I've got plus a library book. I'm not going to pick a 3rd book because it is too much with what I've got going on. I can't read 3 picks and a library book, so I'm going to have the 2 picks, which is the Star and the Strange Moon, plus the Alex Kingston's A Ruby Curse, which is going to be the first book I read, plus book 3 of Washington Poe, which I believe is called The Curator, or is it The Botanist? There are 7. Let me just find out what it's called. I'll pause this so you don't have to see me looking. NW Craven, Washington Poe book 3, and see what it is. It's either The Botanist or The Curator, I believe. The Curator, yeah. And then you've got Dead Ground, then The Botanist, then The Mercy Chair, and then book 7 is called The Final Vow. Now I know my library's got book 3 in, so I don't want to buy it if I can get it from the library, and we need to support our local libraries anyway, so I'll be getting that from my library. So this month I won't be doing a pick. I don't know if Joe will, because I know you've got a lot on this month, haven't you, with your concerts and stuff, but we can decide that. Okay.
I've got one this month.
Okay, so I'm done with my reviews now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, guys.
Yeah. So I suppose we'll either do a pick, although I've got some library books that I do have to read, because I've got 2 of them due back next Saturday, and I haven't read them yet. Yeah, I do need to read them, and I've got a couple that are due back sort of around the 26th, something like that, so they can wait a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they are at the moment, because I haven't really looked at them. So I've got a library book, just the one that's due back on the 16th, and then I've got 2 that are due back around the 26th, I think. So I've only got the one. But I have got some books that I did buy from the charity shop that I haven't looked at yet. So, but I could probably get 2 out, and the ones that I got from the charity shop can wait.
Yeah, well, it's entirely up to you, but I've got a plan of that's what mine's going to be.
So I've only got the one that's going to be read before the end of the week, because I won't be here. So I'll just take 2. I'll close my eyes and just take 2.
Yeah.
And that library book, and I'll read the library book first, and then read whatever I've got for
well, it sounds like
this month. Yeah.
Can I quickly show people what you got me for my birthday?
Yes.
Because my birthday's been and gone. We've both got birthdays in July. Joe's is towards the beginning, mine's towards the end. So I'll quickly show you what I've got. because she sent me the card through the post, even though I told her not to, because she don't like her to waste the money. She sent me my card through the post, and today she's given me my stuff. She knows I like purple, so she's wrapped it in lilac. Also, my phone's lilac as well. And the can of alcohol that I like is always lilac or purple. But no matter what shop you go into, this drink, which is a passion fruit martini, I say. Passion fruit martini is always usually in a purple can. I know in Asda you can get it. Asda's own one's lilac, and then they do the branded one, which is a leopard print lilac, isn't it? And then
the Aldi one is a purple.
No, that's pink, isn't it?
It's a
pinky colour one. Majority of them are in purple.
No, we're not supposed to advertise, but hey ho.
And then the Funkin' one, which is the one with like the nitrogen in it, this creamy one, that's in a dark purple can, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's called Funkin'.
Yeah, and you can get the bottle, which I got you last year.
Yeah, so that's nice. So yeah, she got me one of them. She's got me them laces, because we both love these. So for Joe's birthday, I got her the really big ones in the box, like the 12 cables or something. You really like the cherry out of them, don't you?
I do like the cherry one, it's so tasty.
And I went into, she does know where they're from, so I went into B&M to get them, because my sister works there, and I was like, Sam, I need them things, I need them now. So she
I didn't know you could get them in B&M.
That's where I got them from.
The big long ones. Because I got them from B&M. The B&M I went into was Sutton Coldfield, and they hadn't got the big long ones, they'd only got them.
Imagine if we'd have both got each other the same thing. We would have eaten them anyway, but we love stuff like this, and because these are, again, we're both vegetarian, these are vegan sweeties.
Yeah.
So
we can have some sweeties.
I'll annihilate these in 5 minutes when I'm reading my book. She knows what I like with my cake as well, so she's got me a Victoria sponge, because I don't like fancy cakes.
She don't like chocolate cakes.
I'm not a chocolatey person really. I love just...
She just like the cakes with the hundreds and thousands, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So, because I like baking myself, majority of the time I'm baking things like old school cake, which are vanilla with the sprinkles on. I love a Victoria sponge, but then I love making things like, I've got recipe books and I just follow recipes, so I made like it's like a giant shortbread with one layer of Victoria sponge in the middle, but underneath the Victoria sponge was the cream that was like kind of jammy Dodger biscuit, and then on top of the Victoria sponge was like a jam, so it's like a big shortbread, like a jammy Dodger thing. I made that, so yeah, I love Victoria sponge, and Joe knows that, so thank you for that. I've then also got some bookmarks, but they're like page magnet things, I don't know what they're called. Mini marks. Because what I usually have, where have I put it? There. Are paper bookmarks, and they can get damaged if you put it in your bag, because I started to put them in my bag, even though I've got a book sleeve now. They can still get damaged, and I don't want my bookmarks being damaged. I'm very peculiar with certain things. These are magnetic, so they can't really get damaged. And you could use it, you've got 3 books, you've got 3. Yeah, I can. So sometimes I do have 2 or 3 books going on at the same time. Yes. And I'll just flip between them all, and Joe goes, how do you do that? But I can do it, so I can use it. I have 3 different books going on. I might do that with these actually. That one, and then NW. Because to me it depends on how I'm feeling on the day. If I've had a hard day, I can't read a psychological thriller. If I've had a hard day, I'll just pick up something like, which I'm hoping the Doctor Who one is, or the Star and the Strange Moon is. And then when I've had an easy day, I'll pick up the psychological thriller. So that's what I might use these for. 3 different books at the same time. Okay. And then, I'm really excited about this. We both love puzzles, and we both love going to quizzes and things like that. So, we always get each other different puzzle books. I've never seen this one before. But Joe's been naughty and paid full price for this from Waterstones.
Because you can't get it anywhere else.
Not even in the works?
No, I went in there first.
She's got me this. So this is, Can You Solve the Murder? It's like a book that you don't read following on in sequential order. It says, if you believe this, go to section 5. If you have put this down, go to section blah, blah, blah. So it's like, do you remember the Goosebumps books where you had the alternative endings, and when you finish a chapter it would say, if you want to end it like this, or you want to go on to this section, read chapter 39, and then blah blah blah, go back to chapter 21. You'd read it like that, out of order. That's what you have to do with this, so I can't wait to dive into this. I've already got 2 going on at the minute. One is the Agatha Christie one, which I also got Joe, and then 6 months after I got it for Joe, I found it for £5. So, yeah. And then the one we got from the works, not the
Oh
loading
no,
one.
the other one where they asked you questions.
Yeah, and you have got a different puzzle on each page that I'm still
That's right.
doing halfway through. So I'll have not only 3 reading books going on at the same time, but 3 puzzle books going on at the same time. And then we all like voice note each other and go, oh my god, this is what puzzle. Or if I don't know something, I say, Joe, who was this killer again? Like 1979, blah blah blah. And she'll know. Or there's some that I'll know automatically. So I'm like, Joe, do you know the answer to this one? See on here. Page 200 it says, if you have T6 written in your notebook, turn to 32. Otherwise, turn to 71. Completely different section, so I love it. So that's what I got for my birthday. Thanks, Joe. Can't wait to have these. Not tonight because it's a school night, but I'll do it Friday or Saturday.
School night, you mean a work night?
Work night, yeah, I always say school night.
I know.
It's a school night tonight.
But at least you can eat that and you can
Oh,
have
yeah.
a slice of cake.
They won't last me 5 minutes.
I know mine don't.
How long
Mine
did you
didn't.
eat yours?
I think it took me a couple of days. Yeah. A couple of days, because like when you're reading, you like to have a chew.
Yeah, and a cup of
Yeah,
tea and that, or
yeah.
a glass of pop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
So I was having that.
We hope we've made you laugh. Which no doubt we have. Thank you all for watching. Comment down below if you're on YouTube. Send Joe a message if you want to contact us on Facebook. Send me a message if you want to contact us on Instagram.
Or email.
Or email or share, which we both can see. I don't know if you do log into, but we both can see it, can't we?
I think so.
Yeah, I think I
Don't
sent you
log
the
into
details. No.
Yeah, you have, but I haven't logged into.
No, so I do that as well. So yeah, if you want to ask any questions or recommend any reads to us, please let us know. Other than that, we'll see you in the next video when you get to see what we read.
And if you're going on holiday, have a great holiday.
Yeah, and let us know where you've gone and what you get up to. What the shenanigans are. Bye!